I'm just, that's that's what they're looking for. They're looking for, you know, that drop top girl, you know. That's what they're looking for. And then they try to wife her and think that she's supposed to act like she's from the 50s and 60s. It don't work like that. What it is, what it ain't, it's your girl AMBREALERTT, and I am back with another video. In today's video, I wanted to get into celebrity men and if they treat women better, worse, or the same in the 50s and 60s versus now. Okay, I got the inspiration to do this video from a comment under one of my videos, and I was just like, well, you know what, let's do it. Let's talk about that, because I think that's interesting. I did write down some things. I didn't really do research for this video. I'm just gonna put that out there because I just want to hear what you guys think. So it's really gonna be, you know, based off of what I'm thinking right now when I think of better, worse, or the same when it comes to celebrity men in the 50s and 60s and towards now. So we're gonna get into it right now. Make sure that you're following along. Make sure that you like, comment down below, and subscribe to this channel for more videos just like this. Okay, so let's do it. Okay, so we have to keep in mind that this is like, you know, decades apart. Okay, we're talking about the 50s and the 60s, and then we're talking about the year 2022. A lot has changed. Okay, so I want to start off talking about the differences between the 50s and 60s and then 2022, and then what's the same in the middle. So we're going to do like a Venn diagram about that. So I am going to put it on the screen right here so that you guys can see the major differences that stick out to me between the periods are segregation and Jim Crow was in the 50s and 60s, and now is, you know, of course non-segregated, and we have social media. Social media was like in the 50s and 60s, cost of living was cheaper. In 2022, the cost of living is higher. And all of these factors, I feel like, make you think about the dynamics and the changes between relationships with men and women. Like, when there was segregation, there wasn't a lot of interracial couples, but now, since there isn't segregation in 2022, there is a lot more interracial relationships, and within those relationships, they, you know, have religions and values, and what they expect from each other is different from back in the day. Traditionally, American households, you know, the wife was the stay-at-home wife. The man had a job, stayed out, you know, most of the time. You know, most of the men that were, you know, married, cheated. Their wives knew, but couldn't really do anything because the woman was really dependent on the man because of the income. You know, women weren't working as much as men were because they were stay-at-home moms, and, you know, yada yada. So the cost of living being higher really makes you realize like the difference, because a lot of the time nowadays, like if you're living with a man expects a woman to pay, you know, half the rent. I don't know if I like the sound of that personally. I get it, you know, do what you need to do, you know what I'm saying, but I just don't think it's right to put traditional gender roles on a woman, like she's supposed to cook and clean. But then, you know, if we're doing that for women, we have to think about what men did traditionally. Traditionally, men paid all the bills, like no complaints, no fuss, no huff, no puff, you know. So it's like, don't tell me what I'm supposed to do traditionally, but then when I tell you, you got to pay all the bills, you're looking at me like I'm supposed to help you. Like, no. And this in no way is me saying like don't help your man out, don't pay the bills. I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying the double standards is like not cool. Okay, if I gotta pay, okay, to live here with you, then you gotta clean and cook too. That's all I'm saying. Difference in drugs, of course, that plays a huge role into the different times. In the 50s and 60s, a lot of people were on heroin. That was like the #1 drug. After that, it was cocaine, and then alcohol, of course. And now in 2022, everyone smokes weed, but a lot of people drink heavily. Like, a lot of people are on alcohol. It's like I say, pills, like Percocets, Adderall, like stuff like that. Like prescription medication is like the wave, I guess. The wave in celebrity world. It's like pills, alcohol, weed. Those are like the top three in 2022. And then I put as well that men were more physically abusive in the 50s and the 60s, and men now are more verbally abusive, you know, than in the 50s and the 60s, which is, I mean, I feel like, I don't know if I want to say women were stronger back in the day, but women took a lot more, you know, hardship. Women were, I guess women were stronger back in those times, because it's like now we be with a dude in a relationship and he called us out our name. And don't get me wrong, like, being verbally abusive is not okay. At least he's not hitting you, you know what I mean? Like, verbal abuse can lead to physical abuse, like, very quickly. It's definitely a step in that direction, but I feel like once someone shows you that they have no respect for you as far as what they're saying, then I feel like that's the sign to leave, like, before it gets worse. But like, women back in the day, they took all of that. They took the verbal abuse, they took the physical abuse. A lot of them stayed in the marriage, they didn't leave, they didn't take the kids, they didn't do child support. I don't know. I don't even know how they lived I don't know how they lived long, you know, with dealing with all of those things. I don't see how they survived or whatever. Like, I would have been really depressed if I was going through all of that stuff. And then, of course, I'm just going to add this, that, you know, the LGBT community was really in the closet. I wouldn't even say, well, yeah, in the 50s and the 60s, the LGBT community was in the closet for the most part, as far as mainstream, like, as far as, we're talking about celebrities too. We're not talking about regular people, because regular people was, you know, living their lives the way they wanted to, but celebrities really had a lot at stake, and a lot of them were in the closet and didn't want anyone to know that they were gay in the 50s and the 60s, because it would affect their career. But now in 2022, like, everyone is out, you know what I'm saying? The LGBTQ community is all up and through the celebrity world because of social media. Everything is out there. It is like a full-blown party. Like, the LGBTQ, they come out and they slay and they don't play, okay? And they're everywhere. Like, on every show you see lesbians, you see gay dudes. Like, it's everywhere. Everywhere, okay? And it really makes you sad for the people that, you know, felt like they had to hide their whole life, like, being gay. Like, that's really sad. But anywho, women have more of a choice now, whether they want to be with a man or not. Like, a lot of women, like me, just choose to be single. I've had this thought too, that a lot of creative people in general have to get used to being lonely, like, because we need to be stimulated at all times. And a lot of the time, like, when you're with someone, that person can block your energy and block your it's like having creative block, you know. And you don't want to have that when you're like a content creator, when you're a painter, when you're a musician. That makes it really hard for you to get your work done. And, you know, a lot of people make you feel lonely anyway. That's something I've learned. A lot of women now, we're gonna go to women. So I said women in the 50s and 60s. Every woman was married at a young age. You had to be married. You had to have at least one kid. You had to be married by the time you was 18. Or either, if you wasn't married by the time you was 18, people thought you was a lesbian, or you was like a prostitute, okay? Whereas women nowadays women don't get married that often, and if they do get married, they don't have long, successful marriages. And it's just, I don't know. It's like nowadays, if we get married, then especially if we get married young, it's like it's a joke. You know, like back in the 50s and the 60s, marriage was serious. Like people took marriage very seriously. People definitely didn't believe in divorce. Like there was no such thing as divorce. If you got married, you had to stay together. You were in it for the long haul if you got married in the 50s and the 60s. And nowadays, like, marriage is a joke. People get married every day, get it annulled, or especially celebrities. Celebrities just get married just because, just for publicity or whatever, just to be talked about. And it just ruins the whole idea of it being a serious thing and really being in love and wanting to be with someone for the rest of your life. It just ruins the whole idea of it. Traditionally, women stayed at home and they were the wife, whereas now women have their own jobs. Either women have their own jobs and still are, you know, a full-time mom or a single mom and have a job, or a lot of mothers work from home, so, you know, they can do both. You know, women are doing both now, especially with the cost of living being so high and marriage being so successful these days. And if marriages ain't successful, then relationships are definitely not successful. And with all of that being said, it's like women definitely have to, it's like we have to rely on ourselves a lot more than women had to back then. Like women could really like depend on men. Even if your husband cheated on you back in the day, had a baby with somebody else, that man would still take care of you and your kids for the rest of your life. Like you wouldn't have to worry about nothing, because that's just the way men was back in the day. They handled their business, even if they did cheat. You know, most of them was cheating back then. You know, but they at least took care of the household. You know, a lot of men nowadays, they'll cheat on you. They won't, you know, they won't pay their half of the rent. You know, they'll bring you something back, give you a disease. You know, it's just like stuff like that just happens, and it's very catastrophic to a woman's just overall being, really. Only activities that a woman probably did in the 50s and 60s was like a PTA meeting, a book club, some type of sewing club, or country club, anything other than the hoochie club, okay? Or household duties, of course, cooking, cleaning, definitely cleaning. If you clean up, you know it takes a long time to clean a whole house, and women was doing it. If they were celebrity wives, then of course they had maids and stuff. So when you think about it, they ain't have nothing to do all day long but drink. A lot of women were alcoholics in the 50s and 60s, as well as men, because they hated their lives, to be honest. Like they grew to resent who they were linked to, especially because a lot of the relationships or the marriages in the 50s and the 60s was with a successful man and a regular woman. That was like the dynamic. And nowadays it's like if there are two people in a relationship, celebrity edition, then both of them are celebrities. And it really makes it, I feel like that's probably what makes it unsuccessful marriage, is if you have two strong-minded people, two people that have built their own empires and they want to do what they want to do, instead of having someone, you know, be normal, be humble naturally, and can keep that other person down to earth. There's no balance. If y'all on the same level, there's no balance. There's no humbleness in that. So of course it's not gonna last. I mean, nowadays we can have babies without having a man. We can go to a fertility clinic and get somebody's sperm, and we can get pregnant all by ourselves. And I mean, some women do it too because they're like, I mean, it might be inevitable. I might end up alone anyway. You know, a lot of men nowadays, they will get you pregnant and they will leave. And when I mean leave, I mean they might, when I mean leave, I mean not handle their responsibility, not take care of the child. I don't mean like leave the relationship, because you can get over that. My thing is, you have to take care of your child, you know, at the end of the day. And a lot of men these days including celebrities, because we're talking about celebrity men. They will, a lot of celebrity men think that, you know, giving money is it, you know, is how you take care of a child, and you have to spend time with the child. And that's something that regular men and celebrity men have in common, is that they all don't spend as much time with their kids as they should. In the 50s and 60s were dependent on the man and the man's income for survival. And nowadays in 2022, women, we are making our own money. We are making our own moves. We're traveling the world. We're opening up businesses. In the last 3 years, women have been the top entrepreneurs, especially black women. In the past 3 years have been doing it. Okay, period. We've been doing it. So it's like we've really been creating our own identities outside of a relationship. And who doesn't want that? I mean, at the end of the day, it's my life, and I gotta live it, you know. Some men will make you feel like you have to live your life for them, and you have to do things their way in order for them to be happy. But it's like, what about me? I gotta be happy too. And if I'm happy doing this business, then I'm gonna do that. You know what I'm saying? Is what I got from women in the 50s and 60s and women in 2022. And you know, a lot of women too. I mean, I'm getting really into women because I'm a woman. I don't want this to be like a male bashing thing, but it is about, you know, men and celebrity men and how they treated women back in the day. Men also back in the day, they carried themselves very smooth. You know, they at least dressed their age. I have a story time I could talk about, but men at least dress their age. They dress like men, you know. Nowadays, you'll meet somebody, they'll be, you know, they'll be 40, and they'll look like, I mean, they'll dress like a 20-year-old, and it's like, what's going on with that? Why is that the case? You know, it's weird. I hope that you guys like this video. What do you guys think? You guys think that men in the 50s and 60s treated women better, worse, or the same? In a lot of ways, I think that men treated women worse. Mainly what comes to mind instantly is like the physical abuse. If I could say they treated women better, I could say that too, because of, you know, them just being natural providers, knowing what they were expected to do. Even though they weren't the best, you know, husbands, I feel like they provided for their family in general, even if they didn't spend enough time, even if they cheated. Because men do that now. They don't spend enough time with their kids, they cheat. And they don't take care of the household as far as making sure the kids is straight, and the baby mama / wife or whatever. It's a lot of baby mamas now, and there were a lot of wives back in the day. And that could be the way women carry themselves, or it could just be a time difference. Like, times was different back then. Men were actively looking for a wife. Dudes these days, I call them dudes because they're old enough. Their age says that they're a man, but they're not a man. You know what I mean? Like, they still want kitty time. They still want to play games. They're still just looking for somebody to fuck, somebody to jump off, somebody to be DTF for the night. You know what I'm saying? They're not, men these days are not looking for a wife. They're looking for a whore. That's what they're looking for. They're looking for, you know, that drop top girl, you know. That's what they're looking for. And then they try to wife her and think that she's supposed to act like she's from the 50s and 60s. It don't work like that. Bye. That's not the way it works. In a lot of ways, I could say it's the same too, because, you know, a lot of men cheat like they used to like they did in the 50s and 60s. A lot of men cheat now, and they still expect a woman to still be with them even though they're cheating. Even though they have a lot of kids with another woman, they expect a woman to stay. Like, a lot of men's expectations for a woman is the same as it is from the 50s to 60s, but they're not providers though. You know, it's not It's hypocritical. But I would love for you guys to comment below. What do you guys think about this topic? Make sure you holler at me in the comments so we can talk further about this. Better or worse or the same? You choose. It's Umbrella, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.